You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati Spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Brumell.
Thank you for listening to American Medicine Today. I am Ethan Euchre, joined by Mr. Jeff Wagstaff.
Go on, Ethan.
A whole lot going on. Very, very interesting show we got going on today. We're actually going to talk with Dr. Wenhei Hu. Doctor Who. Isn't that funny?
Doctor Who?
Doctor Who.
Who's on first?
Yeah, well, he's actually, he's a very esteemed scientist who's talking about, they've basically figured out essentially a cure for HIV. So we're going to talk about that. They haven't done the human trials yet.
Very cool.
Then we'll find out what's new in medicine today, where Dr. Bonati is going to be talking about ambulatory centers. We'll also speak with a patient of the Bonati spine procedures. Right now, though, fighting Zika is a pretty important issue that science has been trying to tackle, and joining us right now is Dr. Stephen Dobson. He's the professor of entomology at the University of Kentucky, where they've developed a novel way of using biological controls to target mosquitoes carrying Zika, and he's here to tell us all about it. So thank you for joining us, Dr. Dobson.
Hi, Ethan. Thanks for inviting me.
Now, this is a pretty interesting topic here. Tell us, first of all, a lot of people don't realize how toxic and deadly mosquitoes are. I think I read somewhere that they're responsible for more deaths than any other creature on Earth.
That's true. Unfortunately, the mosquitoes even beat out humans. I think mosquitoes are estimated, specifically the pathogens that they transmit are estimated to kill over 500,000 people a year.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, especially in more third world countries. You have things like dengue fever and obviously now Zika, which Zika doesn't really kill you, but it leads to birth defects and terrible things like that. So tell us about this biological control that you found. It's a bacterium, correct?
It is a bacterium, that's correct. It's named Wolbachia, and I didn't discover Wolbachia. It was found many years ago. But we've been extending that, trying to move this towards actually using Wolbachia as a pesticide. And I should say this is in actually a collaboration. I wear two hats. I'm a professor at the University of Kentucky, but then also there's a spin-off company named Mosquito Mate, which I am the president of.
And Mosquito Mate actually was a student of yours, right?
Well, Mosquito Mate is the name of a company. And
well, I know, but it was developed by a student of yours, right?
No, actually.
Then I read that wrong.
The company was formed by me, and basically, but it's being run. I think that might be what you're referring to. It's currently being run by former postdoctorates and students from University of Kentucky who are now trying to commercialize this technology.
Well, Dr. Dobson, tell us more about how the biological controls work to target the mosquitoes.
Okay, you got cut off there towards the end, but basically the way it works is Wolbachia is able to cause a form of sterility, and Wolbachia occurs naturally in lots of insects. It's estimated to occur in over half of all insect species, and the reason why it's been so successful is that it's able to manipulate the reproduction of its host, the host insect. And I should say that Wolbachia does not occur in vertebrates. It doesn't occur in humans, for example. But as long as the entire population is infected with Wolbachia, then Wolbachia stays relatively silent. It doesn't cause any sterility. But if a female in the population loses her infection, then the bacterium punishes her and essentially makes her sterile.
I'm curious, we're talking to you from Tampa, Florida. This year, mosquitoes have been worse in the Central Florida area than I can remember in the last 20 years of living here. Are there ways to use this technology to control general mosquito populations, possibly other insects?
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that you're suffering from elevated mosquito levels. First thing I would say is, and this is something a lot of people do, is they generalize mosquitoes. And what everyone should know, all your listeners, is that there are multiple species of mosquitoes, thousands of mosquito species, and only a handful of them actually bother humans or bite humans or transmit pathogens. So, for example, in Florida, you guys have, we don't have them in Kentucky, but you have a salt marsh mosquito, and they are huge numbers and a tremendous nuisance, but they don't really transmit pathogens like Zika. This approach that we're developing can target these different mosquitoes, but in each case, it's a species-specific approach. meaning that it only affects one species. We would come to your backyard, for example, and release 1,000 male mosquitoes. And the key thing that you would need to know there is that male mosquitoes don't bite.
Mm-hmm.
They don't bite, they don't blood feed, they don't transmit pathogens. But what they do is they're going to fly around your yard and hunt and find females, mate with them, and effectively sterilize them.
Yeah, so to summarize exactly the procedure here, you infect the males with this bacterium, release them into an area, the males fly around, find the females, mate with them, transmit the bacteria to the females, and it effectively sterilizes the females so they can't reproduce, and which is a good thing, A, because it's going to lower the population, the overall population of mosquitoes, and B, if those females are carrying disease, they're not going to continue that strain of disease into new generations, right?
Well, that's almost right. And this is a very common confusion among the people we talk with. There's multiple Wolbachia strategies out there. So, for example, there's a group down in Australia, and they're doing roughly what you described. They're trying to infect the population with Wolbachia, this bacterium. And what we're doing, though, is we're not trying to establish the bacterium in the field population. And the thing I haven't told you yet, or your listeners, is that the Wolbachia is just like mitochondria. It's only passed through females. So all of your mitochondria, all of my mitochondria, we only got them from mom, and it's the same is true for this bacterium. And so since we're only releasing male mosquitoes, and because male mosquitoes can't transmit the bacterium, the Wolbachia doesn't become established in the population, but instead, that female with whom he's mated, she's effectively sterile.
And the reason I reached out to you all is because I saw a story where they released these mosquitoes down in the Florida Keys. And I haven't seen an update on it since, which it was only a couple of weeks ago, but I thought, well, that's a really novel idea that they're using a live creature. That's why they call it biological controls to help try to eliminate these viruses. So pretty interesting work. Only got about a minute left. What more do people need to know that we missed about Mosquito Mate? Will it be available for people, in the general public and things like that?
Yeah, well, good question. We are currently working with the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, to get this registered as a pesticide. We currently have permits that are experimental permits, so we can only do things like what you just mentioned in the Florida Keys. But the EPA has been really pushing very hard. I think they feel the urgency that's needed. Mosquito season is coming, and they're moving very quickly towards an EPA registration.
Very cool. Well, we appreciate you joining us, Dr. Stephen Dobson, professor of entomology at the University of Kentucky, as well as running Mosquito Mate. You have a website people can find more information?
Yes, we do. MosquitoMate.com.
MosquitoMate.com. Kind of what I figured. I had to ask. Thanks, Dr. Dobson. Have a great weekend.
You're welcome, Ethan. You too. Bye.
All right. Pretty cool idea.
Absolutely.
Using bacteria to sterilize a population. I like it. Quick break coming up. We're going to talk to a patient who received the exclusive patented Bonati spine procedures after the break. You're listening to American Medicine Today.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect 98.75% patient satisfaction. 50,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Over half our patients have suffered from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
This is the first time that I am pain-free after 18 years, and it's just wonderful. I love it.
Phenomenal results, no pain whatsoever.
My pain is virtually gone, nothing short of a miracle.
Those surgeries gave me my life back.
Already I feel like a new person.
I'm going home new. I can chase my grandbaby now, I can garden, I can cook, and I'm really thrilled. The outcome's been remarkable.
I feel 100% better.
It's like a miracle.
It was phenomenal. It literally did change my life.
I was in a wheelchair at that time, and I left here walking.
Every single pain that I had when I came here is gone.
I'm ready to go home and feel great. This place is great. Thank you.
Everything that they said they would do, they have done, and I'm very, very satisfied and happy with those results.
I knew in surgery, in fact, I told the surgeon when he relieved the pain off the nerve.
The pain is gone. I'm feeling wonderful.
I have no pain. I feel better than I felt in 4 years from the surgery. It was almost immediate relief.
Today I am totally pain-free, which is just amazing. It's fantastic.
It definitely works. I mean, I really don't know what else to tell you. I'm happy.
You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati Spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Brumell.
Thanks for listening to American Medicine Today. I'm not Kimberly Brumell. I am Ethan Euchre, joined by Mr. Jeff Wagstaff.
I'm not Dr. Bonati. Both Kimberly and Dr. Bonati are spending time at the brand new Bonati Spine Institute in Las Vegas, Nevada. So Ethan and I are doing our best to hold down the fort in their absence.
We're driving the bus, indeed. Well, again, the show... What?
They're not here, so I think it's a short bus this week.
Wow. Speak for yourself. The show typically is a great mix, if you're new to the show, of innovators, scientists, researchers, talking about what's new in medicine today. But really, the focus is on Mr. Dr. Alfred Bonati and the great work at the Bonati Spine Institute.
If you've listened to the show for a few weeks, a few years, or this is the first time you're tuning in, if you are someone that you love, a family member, a coworker, a friend, a neighbor, suffering from back problems, neck problems, headaches, sciatica, you owe it to yourself to look into treatment. You can find that information at Bonati.com. The more you research treatments, the more that you will find that Dr. Bonati's patented procedures are one of a kind, and you can't get this kind of relief from pain anywhere else. And I think the person we're about to talk to will be testament to that.
In today's Back to Life segment, we will talk to a patient of the Bonati Spine Institute who went from living a life that was restricted by pain and discomfort through their journey of finding the Bonati Spine Institute and are now living pain-free.
On the phone with us is Perry Tatro from Malone, New York, the old 518, my old stomping grounds. Not quite that far north, though. You're up by Canada in Malone, right, Perry?
Yeah, I'm about 50 miles away from Montreal, somewhere around there.
Gotcha. Well, we appreciate you joining us. We're going to hear your story of progressing from a life of pain to regaining your strength and getting back in motion. Your story starts basically 20 years ago with an accident, right?
Right.
What happened, Perry?
I had a knee operation, and I was restricted from doing some stuff that my boss at the time told me I had to do anyway, and I wrenched my back and had problems since then, you know. And, I'd go to the chiropractor, once or twice a month for past 20 years. And all of a sudden, a couple of years ago, I was doing some yard work, like 15 minutes of raking, and all of a sudden my left leg just went numb, my back went numb, the whole 9 yards. The sciatic nerve had stuck, and within a week or two I was on crutches, I was on a cane,
So it sounds like from that incident where you were in your yard raking, it got quite a bit worse. What did you do to seek
from
relief?
that, like I said, I had stopped. I used to play softball and coach basketball and play basketball, and then after my accident at work, I stopped doing all that except for coaching my kids and stuff.
Let me ask you this, Perry. That happened, your accident, as we mentioned, 20 years ago.
Right.
And you gave up everything that you loved about your life because of pain. Why didn't you seek out some sort of treatment all the way back when it happened?
Well, it's a matter that back operations back then were like fusing everything together, and I didn't want to do that with young kids.
Perry, we understand. We've talked to so many people who are afraid of that going in and being filleted like a fish to only be worse.
Right.
But after that incident in your yard, and it got much worse. What did you do? At that point, you had to do something. So tell us what you did.
Well, I went to the chiropractor, real often. I was going sometimes twice a day. And he finally said, I can't do anything more for you. He says, and he put me in through to Dr. Bonatti. And I had went down there actually. I got my operation last August and first part of September, but I was actually down there the year before in August. And Workman's Comp said, "Yeah, go on down." And then when they called up Workman's Comp, they said, "No, we're not okay in anything." So I had to come right back that year, and it took a whole year to get everything settled again. And so
that's a whole nother topic that really irritates all of us.
Ridiculous insurance.
That we run into it not only with workman's comp but other forms of insurance where initially they'll be like, "Oh, sure, we'll cover that," and then they'll hear that maybe it takes 2-3 procedures because the Bonatti spine procedures work incrementally. It's like putting a puzzle together to fix your pain, and they'll hear that and think, "Well, I'm not covering 3 of these, so denied." And then it makes you have to live with more pain, and so you just said you had to go back home after coming down to Florida and seeing Bonatti because they denied your request. Had to go back home, live with pain for another year. Did they finally relent and say, "Yes, we'll cover that," or how did that work?
Well, I had a hearing, and the judge said, "Why are you keeping this guy from having his operation? That's been okayed right from the beginning." Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at him like, "You're shitting me, right?"
Whoa, family show, sir.
I could have had that done down there, and they said yes. And so all of a sudden, I had set it up for April to go down, and then the Workman's Comp jumped on it again and canceled that out. And then finally everything was okay. And then they tried to stop me the day before I took off for Bonatti down back in August.
Unreal.
Unreal.
So that was all pushed through. And finally Dr. Bonatti looked at me and he goes, after the first operation, they tried to deny me again. And then all of a sudden, Dr. Bonatti said, "Look, I'm going to go through with this anyway." He says, "You're in pain. I'm going to fix it."
Doc has been known to do that, actually, where he's such a humanitarian and wants to help you and sees people in pain that, he doesn't try to make a habit of it, I'm sure, but he'll be like, "You know what, I'll deal with insurance later. We're fixing you."
Yep, that's what he said. And then within 2 minutes, a nurse come in and said, "He's been okayed."
Wow.
So he goes,
Perry, tell us a little bit, when you first got to the Bonatti Spine Institute, and they wanted to look at your MRIs. Tell us a little bit about that initial diagnosis and how they thought they could help you.
Well, when I first got there, the MRI, Dr. Uteg was the first time he looked at it, mm-hmm. and he told me where I hurt on my legs.
Now, Perry, let me point this out for people who are listening at home. Normally when you go to the doctor, they say, "Well, what's wrong?" At the Bonatti Spine Institute, it's a little different. They ask you to bring in your MRI, whether you bring it in from it was previously done or they do it at the Institute. But then the doctors read the MRI, and from the information they read on the MRI, they're able to tell you where the pain is. Did that give you additional confidence in working with the Bonatti Spine Institute?
Exactly. He told me where I was hurting, and he even told me one that I forgot. He says, "Do you hurt going down the front of your leg, the top of your thigh, going down the front?" And I says, "Not that I know of." And he goes, "Well, that's a pain, everything else," he was spot on. And then all of a sudden I got up and I look at him and I'm going, "You know something?" I said, "I usually have to take the change out of my pocket on my front pocket because that hurts." And he goes, "Well, that's what I was just talking about." And I'm going, and I had forgot all about it.
Because you were so used to that pain, probably, and doing that.
And Perry, being very real, anytime you go to a doctor, or in this case, the Bonatti Spine Institute, you're going to have to see if they can help you. There's got to be a little bit of anxiety, a little nervousness.
Oh, yes.
Once you hear them tell you what's wrong, did it make you feel a little better?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it made me feel so much better. I built my house. I've done a lot of things, and in the past 2 or 3 years, I would work on something that would take me an hour would take me 7-8 hours, and I wouldn't be able to do anything for the rest of the week. And coming back from Bonati, I have been working day in and day out. I'll do some renovations on the house. Like I'm in the middle of tearing up carpet in the dining room that we're putting hardwood down.
Guys doing man business.
Yeah. Damn right. That's what we do in New York.
Well, Perry, let me ask you this: is as you know, at the Bonati Spine Institute, Dr. Bonati uses a procedure called conscious IV sedation. So when the patient is in, they're awake, alert, it's pain-free, but they're able to interact with the surgeons. Now, everybody reacts to that a little different. Some folks remember everything. Some folks don't remember anything. Mm-hmm. How do you fit there? Do you remember the procedure?
I remember pretty much everything, but when you say it's pain-free, when he hits a nerve, you're going, leg, or your butt, or whatever, wherever he wants you to tell.
Well,
yeah, that really gets you.
Now, you bring up a good point, though.
Then that stops.
That's a great point, because if you were sedated, the doctors wouldn't know where that is, and that's why Dr. Bonati wants the patients awake and alert, so he can pinpoint with great accuracy how to relieve that pain.
Exactly.
Well, Perry, we only got about a minute left, so just kind of tell us how your recovery was and how you're feeling now.
I feel great. My recovery, it was unbelievable. Just being able to walk any distance and lift my legs up, and do like a high step. I looked at my girlfriend and I said, "Look at this," and I got my hands up my chest and I'm picking my knees up and I'm almost touching the hands. I'm going, I haven't been able to do that in 20 years.
And this is right after the procedure.
This is right after the procedure, yeah.
Perry, after everything you've been through,
doing that right along, and I'm keeping up and working day in, day out, and then doing extra stuff around the house and waking up the next morning and not feeling any pain.
It's great to
that's
hear.
so good to hear. The $1 million question we have to ask you, after everything you've been through, if you had a friend or a neighbor, a coworker who was suffering with back, neck, sciatic pain, would you feel 100% comfortable referring them to the Bonati Spine Institute?
Yes, I would.
Perfect.
I've been talking to my brother to have something done for the longest time here, and he's just kind of scared.
Yeah, well, I mean, just hearing your story, he needs to wake up. There's nothing to be afraid of,
Yep, that's for sure.
Well, thank you for sharing your story with us.
I've told a lot of people.
Well, we appreciate your time, Perry. You enjoy your weekend up there in Malone, and continued pain-free living, my friend.
Thank you very much. And when you see Dr. Bonati, tell him I said thank you very much.
We absolutely will. And as everyone knows, he's normally in studio, but out in Vegas today, opened a new institute. But we will certainly send him your regards. Thanks again, Perry.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Quick break coming up. We're going to talk to a doctor who has essentially come up with what he's calling a cure for HIV. We'll hear about it coming up next. It's American Medicine Today.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect 98.75% patient satisfaction. 50,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Over half our patients have suffered from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
This is the first time that I am pain-free after 18 years. And it's just wonderful. I love it.
Phenomenal results. No pain whatsoever.
My pain is virtually gone. Nothing short of a miracle.
Those surgeries gave me my life back.
Already, I feel like a new person.
I'm going home new. I can chase my grandbaby now, I can garden, I can cook, and I'm really thrilled. The outcome's been remarkable.
I feel 100% better.
It's like a miracle.
It was phenomenal. It literally did change my life.
I was in a wheelchair at that time, and I left here walking.
Every single pain that I had when I came here is gone.
I'm ready to go home and feel great. This place is great. Thank you.
Everything that they said they would do, they have done, and I'm very, very satisfied and happy with those results.
I knew in surgery, in fact, I told the surgeon when he relieved the pain off the nerve.
The pain is gone. I'm feeling wonderful.
I have no pain. I feel better than I felt in 4 years from the surgery. It was almost immediate relief.
Today I am totally pain-free, which is just amazing. It's fantastic.
It definitely works. I mean, I really don't know what else to tell you. I'm happy.
You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Brummel.
Thank you for listening to American Medicine Today. I am Ethan Euchre, not Kimberly Brummel. That is Jeff Wagstaff.
I'm not Dr. Bonati, but both Kimberly and Dr. Bonati are away on special assignment in Las Vegas at the brand new Bonati Spine Institute.
I'm a little jealous, I might say.
We haven't been invited out.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't not been invited, if that makes any sense. Like, I'm sure if I said, hey, I'd really love to go out with you guys and check out the new institute, they'd say, absolutely. But they haven't said, hey, you have to come with us.
I'm kind of waiting for that invitation. If you guys are listening to the show right now.
And you know they're going to.
Hint, hint, hint.
Right. We want to come out to Vegas. Anyway, got a lot of good stuff on the show today. We will check in with Dr. Bonati. He's going to talk about ambulatory centers and how they're so much better than a lot of what's going on in medicine today.
And why.
And why. In a segment called What's New in Medicine Today. We'll also speak with Liz Sanders, who's going to talk about food confusion in the sense that they did a survey on different things in food, and people are just confused about the information that's out there. Some people tell us, oh, well, this is good, and then they'll see another report that it's bad. Well, who's telling the truth? This is what we need to know.
Reading some of the research, most people get their nutritional information from friends and family who are completely clueless.
And who know nothing about anything, at least my family. Anyway, saw this story is pretty interesting. There's a quote-unquote promising cure for HIV and AIDS. It's been discovered, and joining us right now is Dr. Wenye Hu, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, of Temple University to tell us about it. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Hu.
Thank you.
I just love that we're talking to Doctor Who, by the way, but that's the geek within me. Dr. Who, please break this down for us. It's pretty exciting progress in eliminating such a disease. Tell us what this gene editing technique that you use called CRISPR is and how it works.
Yes. So CRISPR is a new technology. It gets a very hot topic in this research. It's a kind of gene editing technology. Generally, you can see it's called magic knife. So it's function like a knife. You can cut the DNA you like.
Say that again. Oh, so because it's called gene editing, you're saying you can cut out of different genes what you don't want to keep.
Right. So your gene in your body, you have different gene. Mm-hmm. So this CRISPR-Cas9. Which is a kind of protein, which is an enzyme. An enzyme, this function, they can make the DNA cut.
Okay.
So if any gene you want to, any gene which is bad, you want to cut out, you can use this CRISPR-Cas9 to cut out. Like HIV, as you know, HIV, the major problem is the HIV DNA genome will incorporate it into your whole body. So because this DNA hiding in your body, your current antiretroviral treatment cannot remove it.
So, Dr. Hu, now, to be very frank, I'm not a doctor, so this is a little over my pay grade, if you will. But how does the application of this treatment work? Is a patient... if someone that you wanted to treat, is this done through blood work? How do you pull these? How do you pull it?
We should also, before you answer that, say, and we'll talk about it, it's not in human trials yet. It's still just been tested on mice. So when you say patients,
so how does
we're
that
talking
work?
about mice. But yeah, how does that work, Dr. Who?
Right. So that's really great question. The first question, that's actually our final purpose, our dream, try to apply this tool, this magic knife, to cure the patient. That's our end point. But before apply to the patient, we need to test our system, which working or not working in the animal model. So we already spent almost 4 to 5 years try to prove this system, the concept is working. So first I want to address is, in the HIV cure field, the major problem which called latency. That means the HIV is hidden in your body. The current treatment, which called antiretroviral treatment, they can suppress the virus replication, but cannot remove the hidden virus. So that's why when you stop the antiretroviral treatment, the virus will come back, so the people have suffered the disease again.
So what you're saying is the drugs that are currently available for treating HIV and AIDS don't eliminate all of the virus in your body. They essentially suppress the ones that are there because they hide in your body, you were saying. And I also read a term they use is called a reservoir. There's still a reservoir of the virus.
Right, you're right.
Still
so
in your
you
body.
can call it hiding virus. The term is called reservoir, which called latency reservoir. Also another called productive reservoir. So the reservoir can produce virus. You can call it productive reservoir. The virus just hiding there, keep the silence there, so it's called latency. So there are currently in this research field, there are 3 major ways to try to eradicate this reservoir. So the first one in the past 5 years is a very hot topic, which called shock and kill. So when you're latent reservoir in your body, you use different drug to wake up the virus, and then your body has the immune system can kill the virus. So that's called shock and kill. So number 2 is the current we are use the CRISPR-Cas9 magic knife, try to directly excise out, remove out the latent reservoir. So I will talk to you more about the CRISPR-Cas9 we are using. We spend a lot of time to test first in the culture cell, and then we go to the cell get from patient. It's called ex vivo. After that, and we test our system in the animal model. So just this year, we publish our data, which is applicable to the animal model.
Dr. Hu, in researching this subject prior to you coming on the air with us today, from what I understand, the current drugs that are used to stop HIV from replicating inside of the body and producing AIDS,
yes,
they have the ability to stop the process. But if you quit taking those drugs, it's almost guaranteed that you're going to develop full-blown AIDS. How does the technology that you're working on now affect that?
Yeah, so the current technology all just suppress the virus. The major problem, as I stated, all the drug cannot remove it. So the patient have to take the drug for long term for the whole life.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
so that also produce many problems.
Right.
So for example, one simple problem is the drug can induce some side effects, maybe induce cardiovascular disease, also neurocognitive disorders, which called HAND.
Which is what?
Which called the neural AIDS.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you. Well, Dr. Hu, let's ask you this because we're going to wrap up here. How far off are you from the human trials? Because the results that you've seen in mice with suppressing the HIV, again, doesn't necessarily eliminate the disease altogether. But
no, I need to correct.
Yes.
So we are talking is current market is called antiviral suppressor. But we are talking our CRISPR-Cas9 new technology, CRISPR-Cas9, which can eradicate the HIV.
So it completely, and you keep saying CRISPR, that's the name of the technique used in the gene editing. You're saying that this CRISPR does completely eradicate HIV?
Yes.
Okay.
So this concept, we proved this concept in Culture Cell in 2014. We published paper in PNAS. And then we test the same concept. We get the T cell from patients. And we test this system completely eradicate HIV. It's working. So this year we published data. It is also working in the HIV animal model. We tried 3 animal models. Number 1 is HIV transgenic mice. Number 2 is eco HIV, which is called mouse HIV.
Okay.
Number 3, we use humanized mice. So all this data show this CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing is efficiently eradicate HIV.
And I think to clarify, the last one you mentioned, you said something about human mice. That's where you take human tissue, right, and put it into the mice so you can see how human tissue sort of reacts to this treatment, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
So the humanized mice in this science field, many labs build up this mice. So you can use human tissue, human cell, transplant to the mouse, and the mice can get all the human cell, and then you treat with your drug or HIV. They can become responsible for the similar as the human situation. It's called humanized.
Okay.
Dr. Hu, how far are you away from actually being able to test this technology on humans?
It's hard to tell you the exact time, which depends on the more animal study. For example, currently we have only first step we show in humanized mice. So the next step we are trying to use this text in the monkey model. Or we want to test this animal model, we can get our tool, deliver this tool into the targeted cell, especially T cell. So all this need more time to establish it, which is really 100% effective in human patients. So some people say maybe 2 years, some people say 4 years. It's hard to decide. So which also depends on the FDA approval process. How long we can get approved to do the clinical trial for the patient.
Sure. And one last super quick question, Dr. Hu, because we're out of time. I have to ask this question, and actually Kimberly brought this up when we saw that we were going to be talking to you. If a person, and again, we're moving ahead, if it's approved and blah, 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 this becomes a treatment for human beings. If you say HIV is completely eradicated in that person, can they therefore not transmit it to other people, even though they had HIV? Now they don't. Even though there's a reservoir, they're not going to give it to other people?
That's right.
Okay.
Even reservoir, whatever, if we can remove the reservoir that people does not have. Even, for example, currently the treatment use just press, but the reservoir, the volume of reservoir is so huge. But if use our system, even the first treatment, maybe you cannot get 100% knockout, but you will reduce the reservoir volume a lot. So that patient is much less have some transmission.
All right. Well, very...
Repeated treated. If you repeat your treatment, maybe you can get more virus out, knockout.
Okay.
Well, Dr. Hu is doing some incredible work at Temple University.
Yep. Thank you, sir, for joining us on American Medicine Today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Little hard to understand, but that's why I tried to kind of summarize what he was saying of what I understood. But you might want to read up on this procedure yourself, because it really is a very promising research as far as a cure goes for HIV. So check that out. Got to take a break. Coming up, we're going to check in with Dr. Bonati, find out what's new in American medicine today with ambulatory centers. So don't go anywhere.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect 98.75% patient satisfaction. 50,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Over half our patients have suffered from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Brumell.
Thanks for listening to American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Brumell with my friend Ethan Euchre.
Happy to be here.
And Mr. Jolly over here, Jeff Wagstaff.
I've been called many things on this show. Mr. Jolly is a first.
You call yourself the tag-along.
The tag-along.
Yeah.
That's
I
right.
call myself 170 pounds of screaming steel and sex appeal, but that's
There you
another
go.
question.
And nobody agrees with that statement. But anyway.
And over there is world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. Alfred Bonati of the Bonati Spine Institute.
Hi.
Hey, Doc. Guess what it's time for? Another edition of
Trump's Triumphs.
And I think you wanted to kind of continue. I know you had a lot more to say in the last segment with Mike Doherty talking about Obamacare, repeal, replace. So we're going to continue that conversation, correct?
Yeah, I think we need to do a little bit more.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, remember that the law just passed on Thursday, May the 4th, 2017. So 2017 votes from the Republicans and 2013 votes from the mediocre Republicans
Right.
and the crappy Democrats. So the situation now is this new amendment. Really, remember in the beginning the law was just contested and they didn't have enough votes. And then suddenly now they come back and they pass the House. And when they passed the House, that was because there were a couple of good amendments that they were really nail it down the necessity to be inside of the law. And one that was the Upton Long amendment that took $8 billion and put towards the situations that the patient had when they need to have an out-of-pocket payments.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, and at the same time, that is plus the $130 billion that the law had to protect these deductibles and out-of-pocket situations for the patients. So, when we talk about that amendment, that is a great amendment. The next amendment that is the MacArthur amendment that is being criticized because the Democrats don't want to really let the people understand that is the one that protect the pre-existing conditions, but at the same time allowed the states to apply for a waiver of these amounts of regulations that Obama had on the law.
Right.
So removing these regulations, saving a lot of money that goes to these patients. The other things that we need to remember here is that the expansion of this healthcare. So I understand that the healthcare is very difficult. And I understand that to be able to create a law that is going to satisfy everybody is absurd.
Sure.
Everybody has different types of problems, different types of illnesses. The problem that I see with the healthcare is all these laws are being done without the direct participation of the doctors.
Correct.
Meanwhile, the doctors are not being called as a group to really create an idea how to put the healthcare for the nation.
We're still going to run into those problems.
Not only on those problems, it's going to be solved halfway, and it's going to be political, and it's going to be economical, but it's going to be a problem for the patient. But they are ideas that they make healthcare totally affordable. But the problem is none of these ideas are being discussed, none of these ideas are being brought to light,
Right.
and the next thing that happens is they affect not only the patient care,
Right.
but affect the quality of the physicians that are going to be in the country.
Mhm.
So when you start to nail economy only without really thinking how you're going to deliver the healthcare, then the healthcare is going to be delivered in a precarious conditions. It's going to be bad healthcare, mediocre healthcare, and that is why you start to hear these names of medical provider.
Right.
That's an insult to a physician. When you talk about medical provider, you're talking about lower the quality of the regulations to become a doctor.
Yes.
Not only the medical school, the training, the competence, the specialty, all these elements that they make this individual unique to serve the patient, suddenly is being moved to a lower level. So a chiropractor is going to be the same like a DO. A DO is going to be the same like an MD. And on these numbers is going to be now a nurse practitioner, the same like the other ones.
Right.
And the
Or
physician assistant,
yes.
the same like the other ones. So what is going to happen?
But they don't have the same training. That's what's so concerning.
But they don't care. It's a socialistic approach
Oh, I
to
understand.
demote the physician training and quality because
Sure.
it's too expensive to create that individual. Plus, they want to remove the doctor as the head of the healthcare.
Correct.
Then when you do that, then you have a terrible service, you have a terrible result, and you have a European type of medical healthcare. The problem is they keep talking about the medical healthcare in the United States. Oh, it's not as good. No, that is not true. The medical healthcare in the United States is not only the very best one, but at the same time, the quality of the physicians in the United States have no comparison with any part of the world. So unless we start to price that, unless we start to really look at the physician, who he is and what he does, and respect what he does, we'll have bad healthcare, bad service, and people is going to be in a situation that irreparable situation. They're going to be treatments that they are going to be not allowed. They are going to be results that are going to be poor, and they are not going to serve society.
I also, well, we're almost out of time, Doc. I think we should take some time at some point also to touch upon the myths surrounding the AHCA, just because, as I mentioned when we were talking to Mike, that
Yes.
I see that everywhere, all over social
Oh,
media,
we're
and
gonna
people
die.
buy. I
It's
see it on the
doomsday.
internet. It's got to be true. It's one
Right.
of those things. Existing conditions, it's not going to be covered. They're not going to cover female procedures and things like that. It's all a myth.
It's all fake
We should
news.
get into
Yes.
that another time, but right now, we're basically done.
I know. And it's a topic we could talk
And
about
we're done.
forever. So
And we're out. No.
thanks for listening to Trump's Triumphs. And thank you for joining us on American Medicine Today as we say goodbye to our flagship station, News Radio 970 WFLA. But if you're listening on a different station, make sure you stick around because we're going to have some great topics to talk about.
Yeah, we're going to talk to Susie Wilburn, who is, she represents a place called
Guide
Southeastern Guide Dogs. Really great program. Her story is also exceptional, so we'll hear about that coming up on our affiliate station.
Yes, and make sure you tune us in on Bloomberg nationally. Look for American Medicine Today and like us on Facebook and tweet at Dr. Bonatti using hashtag American Medicine Today or hashtag AMT. We always like to hear from you. Again, if you have any back issues, reach out to Bonatti at Bonatti.com. Bye-bye.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect 98.75% patient satisfaction. 50,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Over half our patients have suffered from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonatti Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonatti spine procedures, Alfred Bonatti, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonatti and your host, Kimberly Brumell.
Thanks for listening to American Medicine Today. I am Ethan Euchre, joined by Mr. Jeff Wagstaff.
We're happy to be here. As you might imagine, we are missing Dr. Bonatti and Kimberly. They are in Las Vegas at the brand new Bonati Spine Institute. So Ethan and I are trying to hold down the fort.
I think we're doing a pretty good job so far.
So far, so good.
Yeah, indeed. 78% of Americans say they get conflicting advice about what foods to eat and what foods to avoid. And joining us right now is Liz Sanders with the International Food Information Council Foundation. That's a mouthful. To explain a bit about this food confusion. Thank you for joining us, Liz.
Thank you for having me.
Now, it seems like every day that you hear something that you told was good for you is the next day no longer healthy. Why is there so much conflicting information out there?
That is a great question. So as you mentioned, leading up to this interview, 8 in 10 of the respondents for our recent survey said that they encounter a lot of conflicting information about what to eat and what to avoid. And we think this might have to do with the fact that they're getting information from so many different sources, and some of those sources are a lot more trusted than others. So we see that people are getting just as much information from their friends and family on what to eat as they are from health professionals.
Yeah, in fact, it even says here, I'm looking at the survey that we speak of that you all conducted. It says, we rely on advice from friends and family 77% of the time versus health professionals, the news, and the internet. So we take the word of our friends and family over actual health professionals, except then another finding was that most of us don't even trust what we hear from our friends and family.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think that we don't trust our friends and family when we also find that friends and family are having so much of an influence over what we eat. Mm-hmm. So for those people who said that they were following a specific diet, we followed up with them and they told us that their friends and family gave them advice that made them choose that specific diet. So even though friends and family aren't trusted, they're having a huge effect over what we eat.
Now, Liz, for those of us who aren't nutritionists but try to eat healthy, there's some basic principles that I've applied. And looking at some of the research, now I'm questioning if those principles are as strong as I thought they were.
Such as?
For example, I believe that fresh foods are always going to be better than anything that's coming out of a box, anything that's frozen, anything that's coming out of a can. True? False?
Well, it's definitely not always the case. So, for example, frozen foods, packaged foods, like even baby carrots are a packaged food. These have oftentimes the same nutrients and the same components as their fresh counterparts.
And see, I always just believed that fresh was better.
Yeah. Well, in fact, side note, my wife, who grew up in an Italian family, her mother always used everything was fresh garlic, fresh vegetables, never, ever ate anything out of a can. I, on the other hand, grew up a little bit poor, little WT in upstate New York. My mom, no offense to my mom, because she'll be like, what are you talking about? But anyway, she used to almost exclusively feed us vegetables out of a can, canned peas, canned spinach, canned green beans. And my wife always thought that was when we met. She's like, are you kidding me? Why would your mom feed you that kind of stuff? But you're saying it's not so bad.
Yeah, and especially with all the low sodium varieties of canned foods we have now, it can definitely be a really healthy option.
No, when you say sodium, not to get off track, but when you say sodium, that's been something that I've tried to watch the intake. It's amazing, the sodium. Salt. It's everywhere. It's in
bread.
Salt is. It's like they overuse salt in almost everything. Are the concerns about salt is that legitimate, or that still kind of a controversy?
I think that's a great question, and I think we see a lot of these controversies about what to eat or what to avoid, like reflected in the survey data as well, in terms of what people are avoiding in their diet. We see year after year that people are trying to avoid these things like sodium, saturated fat, and extra sugar.
Another thing that the survey said is that most of us want to lose weight, yet half of us can't name a food that helps them lose weight. Experiment, Jeff. Can you name a food that helps you lose weight?
I cannot.
I tried to think what my answer would be. I would say probably salad and exercise. So that's half of us that didn't have an answer.
But are there foods, Liz, that promote weight loss?
Well, I think that there are food components that promote certain aspects of weight loss. So weight loss, in a very simple, basic sense, is burning more calories than you're taking in, right? So low-calorie foods like fruits and vegetables can help with weight loss when they're displacing other high-calorie foods. And then you also have food components like protein and fiber, which can help you feel fuller longer and can help you eat less throughout the day.
See, like to answer your question, Ethan, when you say what foods would help you lose weight, where, I don't know, my mindset is avoid carbs, avoid sugar, and avoid anything processed. Is that pretty good common sense approach, Liz?
Well, I think that what the survey results really show is that we are often really focused on what to avoid, and we might not be prioritizing enough what to eat to get the health benefits we want. So, for example, if you're interested in cardiovascular health, 50% of those who are most interested in cardiovascular health benefits couldn't name a food associated with that benefit. So I think that maybe this shows that we need to shift instead of from what to avoid to what we should be eating to focus on our benefit, and maybe that those foods will start displacing the foods that we are trying to avoid anyway.
Now, you know what I've always thought was, and I'm a living example of this, is that for years I didn't work out because I didn't want to. I was just kind of lazy, to be honest. Would rather not. Who wants to go to the weight room and lift weights and run on a treadmill? And it's to me, it's so boring. It didn't capture my attention. And then I started training a little bit in martial arts, and I lost 7 pounds the first 3 classes that I did. Didn't in over the course of, I think, 2 months, I lost 20 pounds. Didn't change anything else. Didn't change my diet. Still ate pizza. Still drank beer all weekend long.
Just that activity.
It was just the activity, and I shed water weight and this and that. So I did eventually change my food habits and my diet as well. But I mean, how important is exercise even above diet? If it's not, or I mean, if it is above diet, because I tend to feel that it is.
I think they're both incredibly important, and I think that your story just goes to show that when it comes to weight loss, in a very basic sense, we all know that there are lots of other factors like genetics that influence how easy it is for us to lose weight, but it really just is a factor of you're expending more energy than you're taking in. You're expending more calories than you're taking in.
Liz, we have a little less than 2 minutes until we're at a break. For folks who are listening at home, driving in their car, they say, man, it's time for me to start eating healthy. What are some basic principles that you can share with our listeners to get them on the right track?
That's a great question. So with eating healthy in general, we're lucky that we have guidelines that really show Americans how they can achieve a more healthful eating pattern, and the dietary guidelines are a great place to start for that. If you're interested in really taking principles from the dietary guidelines, like those of balance, variety, moderation, and applying them to your diet, then it's really great to seek out expert advice from a registered dietitian, since these are the folks that are most equipped to really help put those principles into practice and help you personalize them for use in your own life.
Pretty extensive information came in the packet with the survey that you all conducted. Where can people kind of read if they want to learn more about this survey?
You can find all of our findings from the survey at foodinsight.org. And also we have a lot of information on a lot of the topics that we talked about today, like weight loss and healthy eating in general.
Foodinsight.org.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Liz Sanders with the International Food Information Council Foundation. Thank you for joining us on American Medicine Today.
Thank you.
Good. Some good information there. But yeah, when I don't know if you did the same thing I did when I looked at the prep that I put together. Right. I was like, Jesus, man, it was like 6 pages of info. So a lot to dive into, but some really good info in there nonetheless. That's it for us, Jeff. We're out of here.
Well, we got
we made it.
We flew solo.
We didn't set the studio on fire. Nobody died.
Hey, and whether you're listening today for the first time, you listen to us occasionally, or you tune in every week, we just want to say thank you for spending time with us. Thank you for listening, and thank you for listening to the stations that this station appears on.
Absolutely. And in closing, if you or someone you know is suffering from back pain, neck pain, sciatica, migraines, all of the above, the best in the world, Dr. Alfred Bonati of the Bonati Spine Institute. Get information at bonati.com. We'll see you next time.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect 98.75% patient satisfaction. 50,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Over half our patients have suffered from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.